Okay, guys, so today we're going to be going over our fall final exam, day one. And the first thing we're going to go over is solving inequalities, which is what we just tested on. So it should be pretty familiar. The first problem says 10x plus 6 is greater than 8x plus 14. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a line through our inequality sign. And remember, our goal is to get all of our letters to the left and our numbers to the right. So in order to do that, we got to move this 8x. The opposite of positive 8x is going to be negative 8x, and what you do to one side, you also do to the other. When I do that, these x's are going to cancel. I can pull down my 14. I can pull down my positive 6 and my inequality sign. 10x minus 8x is just going to give me 2x. Now that I have all my letters on the left, I need to get my numbers to the right. So the opposite of positive 6 is negative 6 on both sides. These 6's cancel. I can pull down my 2x and my inequality sign, and then 14 minus 6 is going to give me 8. The last step in order to get x by itself is going to be divide both sides by positive 2. When I do that, I'm going to get x is greater than 4. So that's it, super easy. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. We have negative 3x plus 12 is greater than or equal to 2x plus 42. Once again, my first step is draw a line through my inequality sign. And remember, our goal is to get our letters to the left and our numbers to the right. So the opposite of positive 2x is negative 2x. And what you do to one side, you also do to the other. It's going to cancel these x's over here. My positive 12 I can bring down, my inequality sign I can bring down, and my positive 42 can be brought down. Negative 3x minus 2x is just negative 5x. Now that we have all of our letters on the left, we got to move our numbers to the right. So the opposite of positive 12 is going to be negative 12 on both sides. These 12s are going to cancel on this side, and we can pull down my negative 5x, my inequality sign, and 42 minus 12 is just a 30. The last step in order to get my x by itself is going to be divide both sides by negative 5. The 5s are going to cancel, and I'm left with an x on this side. 30 minus divided by negative 5 is negative 6. And the super key important thing is that whenever you divide by a negative, your sign has to flip. Okay, so that's our answer for number 3. The next question, number 5, that we're going to go over is just graphing. It should be super easy and fun because we've been graphing for a long time. So remember, we begin in the back with our y-intercept at negative 1. We put a dot at negative 1. Next thing we do is we pay attention to our slope, which is negative 2 over 3. That tells us we're going to go down the elevator 2. And when we get off the elevator, we're going to run 3, giving us our second point. Then we have to pay attention to our inequality sign. Our inequality sign tells us that it's going to be a solid line because there's a solid line underneath. That means there's going to be a solid line on our graph. And our last step is to figure out which way we have to shade. When we look at our inequality sign, we draw a line through it, and this makes the letter P for up. So because it makes the letter P for up, that means we go at any point on our graph, pull an arrow up, and that's the side of the graph that we have to shade. All those should be super easy. Next, we're looking at Unit 5, and that's solving systems of equations. First thing we're going to look at is number 7. When I look at number 7, I'm going to go ahead and put letters on these. So we have A, B, C, and D. They're asking us to circle the graph that has no solutions. When something says no solutions, the first thing that we should pop into our mind is parallel lines, because those are lines that do not cross, okay? When lines do not cross, there's no solution. So they should look like a pair of train tracks that never touch. And when I look at A, B, C, and D, C is my only option for two lines that are never potentially going to cross. Okay. Let's look at number 9. A system of two linear equations is given. So when I see this, first thing I should think is, oh wow, this one's already ready to go for me in Desmos. I don't have to do anything to it. The top one I do have to solve for y, because remember, in order for Desmos to give me a solution, it has to be in slope-intercept format, which is y equals mx plus b. And we're going to be dealing with this equation all year long. So in order to do that, I have to change this equation into that format and put negative 5x plus 6y equals negative 9. Now, sometimes my students ask me, Ms. Morris, how do I know when to get y by itself and when to get x by itself? It's very, very easy. If there is an x and a y in the equation, then you need to get y by itself. And if it's just an x, then you just need to get x by itself. So since this equation has an x and a y, we're going to try to solve to get y by itself. In order to do that, the negative 5x has to move out of the house. The opposite of negative 5x is going to be positive 5x. What you do to one side, you also do to the other. These 5's are going to cancel, and I'm going to pull down my 6y, my equals. And because we write it in y equals mx plus b format, we're going to put our 5x in the front and our negative 9 in the back. The last step to get y by itself is to divide every single thing by 6. Those 6's are going to cancel, and I'm going to have y equals 5 over 6x minus 9 divided by 6. And you can reduce that if you want. They can both be divided by 3, which means we'll have a 2 in our denominator and a 3 on top. Either way, even if you leave it as is, it is okay. You can go ahead and plug this one into Desmos as well, and you're going to tell me where they cross. So the first equation we're going to plug in is y equals negative 6x plus 22. Negative 7x. And the second one is y equals 5 over 6x minus 3 divided by 2. When I do that and I click on it, they cross at 3, 1. So my solution for this inequality is 3, 1. But when I look at my question, it says, what is the x value of the solution? So when I look at my solution, I have an x here and a y here. The x value of my solution is actually 3. So my answer would be 3. Let's take a look at number 11. It says the mall is having a holiday sale. You bought 2 pairs of gloves and 4 hats for $43, and then you bought 2 pairs of gloves and 2 hats for $30. What is the price of each hat? So in order to solve this, guys, one of the key things that I want you to pay attention to is whenever you see these bullet points, that's basically telling you that this is one equation and this is the other equation. You just have to identify your variables. So because we're buying gloves and hats, gloves is my first variable. So every time I see the word gloves, I'm going to write an X, and that makes hats my Y value. So when I go to set up my first equation, it says I have 2 pairs of gloves and 4 hats, and I paid $43. Then I went back to the store, right? And I got 2 pairs of gloves and 2 hats for $30. Let's go ahead now that I've set up my 2 equations, and let's solve these. So when I try to get y by itself, because I have an x and a y, the goal is to get y by itself, so it's easy to graph in Desmos. In order to do that, I have to do the opposite of positive 2x, which is going to be negative 2x on both sides. These x's are going to cancel. I can pull down my 4y equals, and I'm going to put negative 2x in the front and 43 in the back. My last step to getting y by itself is to divide every single piece by positive 4. In doing so, I get y equals negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 1/2, or you can leave it as negative 2 over 4. Desmos will still graph it, plus 43 over 4. And that's not going to give me a very nice number. So I can just go ahead and plug this into Desmos just like this. Then I have to solve this one right here. And once again, in order to get y by itself, the opposite of positive 2x is negative 2x. And what you do to one side, you also do to the other. These x's are going to cancel. I can pull down my 2y. And then remember, I put everything in slope-intercept format, so I'm going to need to put my negative 2x in the front and my 30 in the back. My last step to getting y by itself is to divide every single piece by positive 2. Now I have my y by itself, which is y equals negative 2 over 2, which is just negative 1x, plus 30 divided by 2, which is just 15. And now I have my second equation that's also ready to go into Desmos. So let's go ahead and plug these in and see where they cross. So the first one I'm going to plug in is negative 1/2x plus 43 over 4. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 43 divided by 4. The second one is y equals negative 1x plus 15. And when I click on where they're crossed, I get 8.5 comma 6.5. So when I go to write my solution, I get 8.5, 6.5. But what they're asking me right here is what is the price of each hat, which is my y value. I identify that as my y, which means my y value is 6.5. So each hat costs $6.50. Okay, and the last one we're going to go over is save the best for last because it's extremely easy to do. It says given f of x equals 1/2 times 5 minus x squared, what is the value of f of 12? This is super easy to do. All you have to do is take what they give you and plug it into Desmos. So in the first box in Desmos, you are going to type exactly what you see. F of x equals 1/2 parentheses 5 minus x squared. Then in the second box in Desmos, you're going to type in f of 12. So in the second box, right underneath it, you'll write f of 12. When you do this, Desmos will give you an answer. It will say equals, and then there'll be a number right over here. And this is going to be your answer to this problem. So let's go ahead and type that in now, and let's figure out what our answer is. These are my favorite because they're so easy to do. So we have f of x equals 1/2 times 5 minus x, and then we press this little a squared over here to get our little 2 in our exponent. Then we go to the second one, which is f of 12, and it gives us our answer right here, just like I said they would, at 24.5. So our answer that we got in this box is 24.5, and that's your final answer. So go ahead and take the time to do all the evens. If you have any questions, you can ask your teacher, and I will do the second video tomorrow.